Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. Before we get into our Impact review, I want to first address Chris Jericho completely burying Impact in an interview to comicbook.com. This is what Jericho had to say. Our roster is jam-packed as it is, and I think our involvement with Impact has been pretty much what it should be. I'm not saying this in an egotistical way, but AEW is a completely different level than Impact is. So anything that we're doing with them benefits them a lot more than it benefits us, in my opinion. And I think the fact that they've had Kenny Omega there, they have Private Party there, that's a bonus for them. Chris Jericho will never go to Nashville and work in an empty studio in front of somebody. There's just no reason for me to do that. If those guys came over to invade, who are they going to bring? So this is how one of the top guys in the wrestling promotion, this is how he feels about this quote unquote partnership. How can you really be partners when somebody talks about you like that? When they treat your titles with such disrespect that they got Michael Nakazawa actually wearing them. What kind of partnership is this? Where Jericho can go in the media and completely bury your company. And then this is the crazy thing. Tony Khan was on Impact burying the company. You're not treated as an equal. At this point, you're not even treated like a little spoon. You're treated like a bitch. Right? You're basically a purse holder. This is embarrassing. You got Jericho basically like, man, anything we do is better than what they got. They can't invade us. Who they going to bring? And look, it doesn't matter if it's true or not, and it is true. But for him to basically be like, look, you have no talent that I want to work with. You have no talent that I'm interested in working with. And I certainly would never come to your show. Is horrible. That's horrible. That says a lot about the partnership between Impact and AEW. Where, it already started out rocky when you got Tony Khan dissing Impact on Impact. And he's playing a heel character. And then Kenny Omega beats the world champion of Impact Wrestling twice, takes their belt, has his job guy friend walking around with the Impact belt on. And now, then you got young boys like Sammy Guevara, who is nothing in the business, basically pish-poshing your creative and saying, like, I'm not going back over there. And now you got Chris Jericho, who's one of the biggest stars ever, basically saying that this is you're the shits. Whatever we do with you is to your benefit. Whatever scraps we throw you is to your benefit. Impact needs to get the fuck out of this partnership. I already know, I know, man. There's nothing Impact can do. They got nothing. But this is embarrassing. You've got this guy completely shitting on your company. Come on, bro. Have some pride. Have some pride. This is embarrassing. And, I don't know what to say. I don't know what more to say. So let's get into the review of Impact Wrestling. Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. Let's talk about Impact Wrestling from May the 6th, 2021. So Chris Sabin defeated Rhino with a Magistral Cradle in order to get into the Under Siege match. Later in the show, there will also be two more. There was Rohit Raju tapping out to Trey Miguel to put Trey Miguel in the Under Siege match. Following this match, Jake Something appeared and beat the hell out of Rohit Raju and Mahabali Shera, who cost him his match in the series. So that was interesting. Not. Also, we got the main event of the show was James Storm versus Moose in an Under Siege qualifier. And James Storm was this match was pretty lengthy, actually. It's probably about 15, 20 minutes almost. And Moose targeted the knee. Storm hit the last call super kick, but he couldn't capitalize. Then Moose just won the match with a spear. And then he Pillmanized Storm's leg. So the number one contender for the world title, the Under Siege match, the 6-way, Matt Cardona, Chris Sabin, Trey Miguel, Chris Bay, Sami Callihan, and Moose. This led to, of course, a Swingers Palace episode, which was actually earlier in the episode before Moose won. It was right after Trey Miguel won. And Alicia Edwards had lost her last 3 coins in a dice game. And she was very upset because she now had no more money. So Swinger was like, look, you ain't got any more money, you can kick rocks. And everything looked grim for old Alicia Edwards, like she was about to get kicked out of the bar, out of the casino rather. And then Swinger turned into him like Hernan Daddy, not Hernandez, Hernan Daddy. Get her out of here. And she was like, no, Swinger, I love this place. There's got to be something I can do. And then Swinger kind of rubbed his hands together. Like, I think I can come up with something, Daddy. I think I got a job for you. A J-O-B. So then Trey Miguel came in fresh off his win and was talking about, I heard we taking bets. I know y'all should be betting on me. Matt Cardona stood up and said, look, I'm not here to play, guys. I'm here to win championships. If you want to bet, you should bet on me. And then Chris Bay was like, oh, what a joke. The toy guy ain't here to play. He says, if you want to bet, you need to bet on Bay. To which Chris Sabin said, I'm a former world champion. Don't sleep on me. And James Storm thought he was going to end up qualifying. So he gave this whole spiel about being a former world champion and, will be a future world champion. Then they started going back and forth between Chris Bay and James Storm about what was the best team he's ever been a part of, which led to Chris Sabin banging the table and saying she's asking inappropriate questions. But Chris Sabin kept banging the tables. That shit was great. That was awesome. Swingers Palace is great. The Under Siege match, the 6 guys in the match, I think it takes place on not March, but May the 15th, which is next week. At least I believe it's next week. The winner of that match, looking at all the performers that are involved, I think it's probably going to end up being Moose. It's probably going to end up being the guy that wins in the end. And Moose versus Kenny Omega is I don't know if I'm interested. But Sami Callihan is a guy that they've teased. They've done some teasing between Callihan and Don Callis. That's even less interesting to me. But since Callihan is on the same level as like a Jon Moxley, as being like a hardcore idiot, that would give a different side to Kenny Omega. I guess you could do that. Trey Miguel or Chris Bay would be like a young gun that you would put in there. I don't see them doing that, so maybe it'd probably be Callihan or Moose. I don't know. Nobody versus Kenny Omega in this field is very intriguing for me, though. That's just me personally. So let's go back to the start of the show. After, Brian Myers, he threw a fit because he lost to Matt Cardona and felt like he shouldn't even need to qualify for Under Siege. He claims that he told Scott D'Amore to take somebody out of the match and give him a second chance. At which point he came across Rosemary, who was just sitting on the table. And she gave him a lecture about change. And she used tarot cards. I believe it was the Hanged Man tarot card. I forget what it means. But she starts talking about how his ego won't allow him to change. And he called her a freak, of course, and some more stuff. And then he basically got knocked down by Black Taurus. I have no interest in Black Taurus and Brian Myers. As much as I love Taurus, I have zero interest in Brian Myers and anything he does. I'm completely done with him. Next thing we get is a promo from Omega and the Good Brothers. After they do silly stuff, Don Callis says, look, we need to start winning. Like, you guys losing is bringing our stock down. We need to win. You guys party too much. And then Omega says that he's going to coach the Doc Gallows to victory tonight. And Doc Gallows ended up defeating Juice Robinson later in the night. Basically, Don Callis, Kenny Omega, all those guys basically got involved and distracted Juice. And Doc ended up winning with a brogue kick, sky high pin, combination. Eddie Edwards came down there to stop his friends who were getting beat down. and he ended up getting beat down. So they're putting some heat on the 6-man match for Under Siege, which is Eddie Edwards and Finn Juice versus Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. That I do not find that to be particularly interesting either. I like the 6-man match. I just don't know who. Like, I don't care who wins. But this 6-man tag, I have zero interest in, personally. Also, at the beginning of the show, let's go back to the show. Susan versus Tyler Wilde. Susan was defeated by Tyler Wilde. Tennille and Caleb with the K actually helped her win. But Taylor didn't want their help. After they came in, they wanted to celebrate with her. She kind of was like, "Ew, you gross," and she disappeared on them. She ran out on them. They figured she'd come back later. So Deonna Purrazzo was not out there when Tyler Wilde defeated Susan. And then she basically was saying that Susan and Kimberly need to start earning them to associate with her because they lose so much. She can't be caught associating with losers. And then out of nowhere, here comes Rosemary. And Rosemary says that, Deonna Purrazzo has become a little bit of a coward. And that it's not very good of her, to become a coward. And Deonna says, look, I don't have to listen to freaks. And she says, I've beaten everybody in the division. She said it again. Then Havoc showed up and claimed that, Deonna is a champion with no challengers and she's trying to escape tough challenges. So then Deonna suggested that Rosemary and Havoc wrestle each other for the title match and she'll fight the winner. Later in the show, Scott D'Amore agreed to this, and now Havoc will wrestle Rosemary next week, the winner of which will wrestle Deonna Purrazzo at Under Siege, and it will more likely be Jessica Havoc, who is the only person that she hasn't beaten yet. So then we get a great promo from W. Morrissey. Basically, he says that this face from being associated with a goofy tag team. And that I've always been the second half of a catchphrase. But if you could see my eyes, you could see the agony that I was in. Now, I don't blame the fans for my agony, but they were the first to criticize me. They were the first to give up on me. And he says that every friend he ever had in the business gave up on him. And everybody he ever met was phony. And that he needed to take time to himself. He needed to rebuild. And now he has, and he's done it entirely on his own. And now he's going to come to Impact to do his own thing in his own way. And you know what? I loved that. That was a great promo. We need more stuff like that. We need more stuff like that. That was legit. I dug it. The fifth match, VSK versus El Phantasmo. So El Phantasmo, ELP, he comes out pretending to hear fan reactions. He then pretended to smack the hands of the fans. Then he did the herky-jerky movements of Shinsuke Nakamura. Of course, he won with the loaded boot super kick. He did the Undertaker pin as he pinned his opponent. And then he made the referee lift his leg in victory. And then he kissed his boots. And the match between VSK and ELP was not bad. But this is the first time I've seen El Phantasmo outside of New Japan. And he just comes across like a fucking geek. He just comes across like a geek. I don't know. Like, what? He just moves a lot. He's not really defined physically as far as being in great shape. Athletic, but then again, almost all these skinny guys are. He is somewhat charismatic, but he's also kind of cringe. There were some things, maybe it's because I haven't seen him in a long time, but I really don't. I liked him when I watched him in New Japan. I didn't really like him here. There was nothing wrong with the match, of course. I just didn't like the persona. It was kind of shitty, if we're being honest. So, Kiera Hogan lost to Rachel Ellering, who beat her with the Boss Man Slam. The match was actually not that long. I completely forgotten how thick Kiera Hogan is. I mean, Jesus, she's thick as peanut butter. Anyway, Kiera Hogan said that she got caught slipping. Later in the promo, she said she got caught slipping. And that Rachel Ellering is actually good. And that Jordan Grace is whack, and they've been beating up on Jordan Grace all this time. And that, what they called her, they said she's a non-factor. That Rachel was really the special ingredient, but Jordan Grace is a non-factor. So Jordan Grace approached Tasha Steelz and said, look, we have never actually had a match. How dare you say this about me? How about I face you one-on-one and you'll see how much of a non-factor I am. And then Tasha accepted. So that was essentially the whole show there. Outside of the W. Morrissey and the Johnny Swinger segment, I could have done without this show. Impact is pretty painful to watch. But Kenny Omega's still on there being silly. Now El Phantasma's on there being silly. I didn't mind the El Phantasmo match. And that was probably the one match on the show that I really kind of sat down and actually watched all the way through without, looking on my phone or looking away. But so let me know what you guys think of this program. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.